is Ruel's Running Podcast, a podcast about running, health, family, play, and an NSNG lifestyle. And now, here's your host, Ruel.
Excuse me as I rock on. That's Went Away by Dorothy Lane. Dorothy Lane out of Martinez, California. That's out of the Cut and Dry album. Check them out at dorothylanemusic.com. Yeah. Hey everybody, welcome to Ruel's Running Podcast. I'm your host, Ruel Abadam. It's another episode. Yeah, how's everybody doing? It is... What episode number is this? I'm so behind in publishing all of these episodes that I'm putting together, but you won't know the difference, I think, until you realize, like, oh, there finally is a new episode on Ruel's Running Podcast. The podcast that doesn't really do much about running. So, I don't care. You don't have to like it. If you are a return listener, thank you guys for your understanding and I appreciate you sticking through my confusion, my mixed messaging, my uncertainty and non-clarity. Is that even a thing? Don't you love it when you're at an intersection and then the guy who is approaching the intersection the same time as you feels like, I don't have to stop. I'm just going to keep on rolling because I don't want to have to deal with the decision of who's really going to have to go or has to ride away. Yeah, well, thank you, other vehicle person, you, for helping me out. For the new listener, welcome to the show. Welcome to the podcast. There isn't a whole lot of value here, just a lot of noise in your ear. And if you're like a friend, Megan North Hawks, I didn't have permission to say her name, but I'm saying her name. We're friends in the NSNG community. We're admins in what's called the Vinny to Hydration No Sugar No Grains Facebook group. She's more active than I have been lately. I used to be super duper active back when the group was sort of in its Wild West stages, and anything goes. Not really, but it was pretty wild and fun. And Lonnie, good old Lonnie knows. Lonnie Beecham, friend of the show, and he is who I co-host the Service Guys podcast with. Yeah, we were talking about that the other day, which is not actually the other day, which was actually earlier today when I sat down and recorded with Lonnie and Megan. I didn't sit down like physically with them. We joined a call together. It was a surprise for me. You know, I worked it out earlier in the day with Lonnie to hop on a call so we can record another episode. And just moments before he got on, he's like, "I got a surprise guest for you." That's exactly how Lonnie sounds when he's on a call with me. He talks like this. Just kidding. He does not. He sounds very, very manly, very, very macho, but don't let that macho voice fool you. He's a very caring guy who is a husband, a father, a friend, a business owner. So how's that, Lonnie? Lonnie did not pay me to say that. Anyways. Yeah, we sat down to talk about what I just can't even remember what I said we were talking about. Can somebody please remind me what I was talking about? Sigh. Anywho, let's just carry on. I apparently have an interesting laugh. There are people who listen to me on podcasts who like to play the podcast at double speed because it makes me sound like a chipmunk. All right. Speaking of chipmunks, I was sitting down earlier this evening. I was icing some cookies for my wife, and I'm helping her out with some St. Patrick's Day themed treats, and I'm icing little shamrocks. So I don't know why that made me think of chipmunks, but it did. And somebody out there's thinking, "Dang, Ruel, how much have you had to drink?" I'm not telling you. Besides, I quit drinking in January. So I've been pretty busy trying to be organized at work because I've got a lot on my plate. For folks who don't know, for folks who just joined the show, I run just a tiny bit. That's why it's called Ruel's Running Podcast. Because if I ran a whole lot, then I would just call this podcast something else, like Ruel Ice Cookies Podcast, and then I would talk a whole lot about running. So dumb, but yeah, just trying to get organized. Really busy. I'm at a stage in my career where I'm really, well, it's not just a stage in my career, but it's a stage in my life where, being a father of 3, my wife and I have it really interesting, being that, every kid has got their uniquenesses, and, this is, we're, as parents, I like to talk to other parents and parents to be, where it's like, people may wonder, like, how do you do it? You have like X number of kids, and they make it sound like, it's sort of like a compliment without being a compliment, if that even makes sense. But it kind of sounds like the type of compliment that says to me, like, "Oh, you seem to have it all figured out. How do you do it?" It's like, "How do you do it?" That's that sort of like compliment, right? And the thing is, I don't know. My wife doesn't know. We just sort of do what we have to do at any given moment that seems to be the best choice and the best decision, right? I am less of a knowledgeable, skilled, experienced parent today than I am than me tomorrow. Does that make sense? Tomorrow I'll be more experienced than I am today. That's what I'm saying. And that's my way of saying I'm just figuring it out as I go along. Doesn't matter if I have 1 kid, 2 kid, 3 kids. The wids. What the hell's a wid? But you sort of evolve as a parent, right? It's funny, I am friends, and many of you who are listening, because there's many of you listening, who are friends with people who are child caregivers or teachers, pediatric care providers or whatever, however you want to describe it. What I'm trying to say is you have a lot of experience, maybe even some education or a lot of education around working with kids and child development and all this and that, right? But guess what? The same people that I know that are in these fields, they are like they're about to become new parents. And even with their training and their background and their childcare experience, they already know that they themselves are going to be challenged. Just because you have some sort of certificate or training or degree in childhood development or this, that, or the other thing, doesn't mean that automatically you can take care, exactly how to take care and raise and teach every child. That's not true. I don't know if you guys can hear that, but yeah. I parked across a bunch of teenagers, and they're a bunch of... Automatically, I'm not giving them the benefit of the doubt. Automatically, they're just a bunch of idiots. I think by definition, being a teenager just means like you're physically, biologically, if that even makes sense, are old enough to be on your way to being a grown-up, but your brain is still pretty empty and still need to fill it up with experience and wisdom. Because I was one of those guys. And, they're at that point in their life where they're trying to figure out who they are, what they want to be, and who they want to be like. And, even worse, they don't care at all, and they're just existing, and they're going to live with their parents for the rest of their life. I didn't say that. But here's the thing. I'll have conversations with guys these age and girls this age, and, I know where they're coming from, and they're like, that's exactly what's going on. They just want to do what logically seems to be the next thing in the stage of their young life. It's finish school and figure out and get a job. Even better, and Lonnie's going to agree with me, is whether you finish school or not, but you start your own business and you learn how to have a successful business, operate a business, or maybe businesses, rather than be somebody who works for somebody else. So I'll have conversations with guys this young, girls this young, and kind of try and describe how I seem to remember being like at their age. And being their age, my throat is hella dry. Can someone please spit in my throat? Gross. If it were me, that young, talking to me at this age, I would be looking at, my younger me would be looking at my older me, my current me, and be thinking, how do you do it? Just like a parent, right? How do you do this and that? The thing is, too, just because I am decades older than you, kid, does not mean I have it figured out. Here's the secret, or here's the big kicker. By the time you get to my age, you're not going to have figured out shit. You're still going to be figuring it out. I'm just older, and I have more experience, but that doesn't mean I have it figured out. And if anybody out there is walking around thinking like they've got it all figured out, they're rare or they're full of shit. So yeah. So that's my segment on what's cooking. Let's see. Let's talk about health. I haven't been tracking as much as I wanted to. I do step on a scale once in a while. I haven't been pricking my finger as regularly as I thought I would. I did check on it this morning. I'm, my fasting blood glucose is awesome. I am producing ketones, blood ketones, but this morning I didn't measure enough to, I guess, categorize myself in the nutritional ketosis range, which would be 0.5 millimolar or something, or 0.05, I don't know, something like that. There's something with a 5 in it. Somebody hollering out through the podcast player and thinking, you idiot. And I am. But, that's cool. And let's see. I am working out about twice a week. And it's about an hour of some good sort of, what the hell is it called? Circuit between, body weights and some light weights, and to treadmill work. And I haven't ran anything of significance since the 50K in February, the Red Tail Ridge, the Lake Chabot event. And but I am I am working out, and that's great. That's good. I am doing regular stretching in the evening, and hoping that in a few months I'll be able to bring back a better range of flexibility and get to a full split. And then I could take pictures of me doing full splits, because that is just the coolest thing to do, isn't it? Look at that old guy doing a full split. Gross. So yeah, I've been talking about, my wife and I have been talking about martial arts training for the kids, and I honestly don't want to spend any money taking the kids to class. I'd love to take the kids to class, but it's just going to cost too much to put them in class, unless I have an arrangement with somebody who actually owns or runs a class, and they could just tell me yeah, just pay for one kid, and then you can have the other siblings kind of join along, because we do need students in this thing to help sort of keep us busy, and you guys can help promote the thing. So I guess I'm just going to have to put it out there and pray that, some opportunity like that comes up. In the meantime, I'm thinking how could I structure at least twice a week a way for me to train the kids? Because I'd love to train the kids, how to punch, how to kick, how to have a better handle on their movement, and sort of get that mindset of, when there's a need, you need to be able to defend yourself. When there's a need, you need to be able to leave the situation. When there's a need, you need to be able to protect your siblings. When there's a need, you need to, kick someone very viciously in the nuts several times. When there's a need, you need to gouge somebody's eyes. Just the typical sort of never get yourself in a situation where you are not defending yourself and then you are caught being, taken, abducted, bullied, hurt, something, right? I'll take the blame, If you get in trouble for defending yourself or a sibling, if you get in trouble because of that, I'll take the blame, right? Because you are just doing what you were taught to do. But otherwise, but if, on the other hand, if you're a kid who's being a bully to others based on things you've learned either through me or through martial arts class, then I'll kick your ass myself, and then you'll be in trouble. So, I don't know what it's going to look like, right? How I could. So if anybody is listening to this podcast who has some ideas, how I could basically homeschool my kids, right? Because right now, none of them are interested. I think out of all the kids, I have a daughter and two. She has two older brothers. I don't know why I said it that way, but I have 2 boys, 1 girl. The girl is the youngest, and she's the one who's the most interested in punching and kicking, working on flexibility, which is great. I love to think that my daughter has the capacity, has the willingness to learn to fight and defend herself. All right? But I think they all should. Yeah.
Do you need a website? If you're an individual, a consultant, a group, or small business and need a site, or maybe you have an existing site, I can help. How about graphic design? Do you need a design for a t-shirt, logo, product, business cards? Maybe you need help with designing and developing a brand. I'm not an expert, but I do have the tools and the techniques to get the job done. How about a podcast? Yep, like this thing. This thing's a silly little show. Are you looking to set up a podcast of your own? Are you looking to reach an audience? Promote your business via podcast? Well, Abadam Studios. That's right, Abadam Studios. Yeah, so that's Abadam Studios. AbadamStudios.com, AbadamStudios.com. Check it out.
All right, I'm back. So, yeah, interesting. I don't know how long ago it was. Maybe a month ago. I can't even remember if I talked about it on the podcast, but the family went on a trip ooh, this guy doesn't have his headlights on, and he's pulling up right behind a cop. Very good. Let's see what happens. Cop's probably looking in his rear, thinking like, that motorist doesn't have his headlights on. I'm just gonna have to slow down and then have him pass me. Then I'm gonna turn on my lights and woo, pull him over. That's probably what's gonna happen. Double check my headlights are on. So we took a trip. We've been giving Disneyland a break for the family because it's just too expensive. You know, the annual pass that we had held on to had finally expired, and weren't going to renew it because it's just way too pricey. But it was fun while it lasted. You know, folks who have been listening for a while have heard me talk about trips to Anaheim in the past and how, you know, I've been able to make it work NSNG style for me, going to places like Disneyland and stuff, and also getting a handle on how we operate when we're there, so that we've tried in the past, we've booked places that had kitchens, and we just sort of like pick up groceries locally and be able to take care of meals and stuff without having to pay, you know, park prices and park food. So it was fun. It was a fun time. But you know, now we've switched things up and we're checking out Universal Studios Hollywood. It isn't as long as a drive. It's still a long drive, but it's a little bit closer than Anaheim is from where we're at. And anyways, so we do this weekend at Universal Studios. It was one of those, what is it? I don't know, President's Weekend or something, or I don't know. But and I get a text from our neighbor, you know, because I like to tell the neighbors like when we're out of town so that they can go in and rob our house. I tell the neighbors, I let them know that when we're out, because we look out for each other, and so they keep an eye out, you know, any unusual trucks pulling up to the driveway, you know, we're not expecting anybody to clear out our house. We're not expecting anybody to come into the backyard, you know, things like that. So, and they're pretty good, you know. They look out for our packages that get left at our doorstep, make sure that those items are secure. They check our mailbox, you know, and depending on when we're out, you know, should the garbage carts need to be rolled in, they'll do that so that you know, things are in order, and also it doesn't look like we are not home because the carts have been out for longer than necessary. Anyways, so we're out on a trip, and I get a text from our neighbor. They're like, "Oh, I'm guessing you guys didn't get much sleep last night with all of that racket that was going on." Apparently, while we were out, one of the evenings, a neighbor across the street, the neighbor's young son, you know, teenage, I suppose, was having a little get-together while his parents were away. You know, this sounds like a typical movie. And from what I hear, word got out that he was having a little get-together. Word got out on social, which is awesome, right? And some uninvites came to crash the party. And, you know, a lot of racket. It was out on the street a little past 10 o'clock. You know, then the street is used to having, right? And at some point, a fight broke out. Awesome, right? And my neighbor across the street came out, used a big old voice, and said, "Hey, you know, break it up, get out of here. You got like X number of minutes before the cops get here." And the cops did arrive, and before the cops did arrive, you know, they had things already sort of dispersed and broken out. But it's funny. Our neighbor texted me and said that there was like broken glass on on the road and some garbage and stuff. I'm like, oh, so interesting. We missed out. Did happen to catch a bunch of ruckus on a security cam, and it's funny when you get it on camera, you can sort of like pause and replay and pause and replay in little increments. You know, it can only play X duration, and then for some reason it stops and then it picks up again. Yeah, you know, not happy about that. Not happy that our neighbors had to take time out of their evening to have things stop. And my neighbor even got into it with the neighbor's kid, the other neighbor kid who had to get together, and put a whole lot of blame on him. You know, it's like, you know, it's all on you and people that you associate with, who somebody that's a part of that sort of circle of friends you should not trust, because, you know, that word got out. You know, we have another neighbor who's also a teenager, and somehow she caught the information on social that word of the get together or the party was happening. So she knew. She's like, Dad, you know, it's on social media that, you know, the invitation. So that's why people showed up. Whether or not the neighbor kid had planned for, you know, people to show up, you know, it all started from him deciding to put something together while his parents were away. So my neighbor across the street, he got into it, put a lot of blame on the kid, and the kid's mom got home and, you know, was trying to like cool things down and apologize, but the kid was like, how can you put that blame on me? I'm the one that called the cops. And then my neighbor is like, you're just trying to paint this picture of how you want your parents to see you, but no, you did not call the cops. The ones that called the cops, I know who called the cops. There were several neighbors in the street that called the cops, you know. And, you know, we're kind of close, you know. There's a handful of neighbors that we're all close with, so we know who's who. So, yeah, we missed the fun. Yeah. Good Lord. Back home, it's quiet. There's no party. The street's empty. Can't imagine this place was a scene of a teenage get-together and foolishness. Oh, well, they're just young, dumb, all that jazz. All right, I'm back. So, moving right along. Next segment. It's almost about a week since that last segment. And a lot has happened. Oh my gosh. So, I guess I'm just going to record this. That way it sort of commemorates the times. It's coronavirus time. Yeah, so at this moment in time, let's see. It'll be, after tomorrow, I would have wrapped up a week working from home. A lot of other companies in the area that can stand to do it are making it sort of policy, right? Because of health concerns, you know. If you're picking up this episode way in the future, and so this is basically an old episode for you, you're wondering what's going on, because maybe I didn't put it in the show notes, right? Maybe I didn't put it in the title of the episode. It's the what is it called? The COVID-19, the coronavirus. Yeah, and everyone's freaking out At least that's what I hear. There's a lot of people who are losing their mind over it. And, there's a reason to be concerned about it. People are getting sick. People are dying. Oh, my God. That ain't fun. So there's a whole lot of trying to minimize the contact with people sort of things. So companies are letting folks work from home that can stand to work from home. My wife's company's done the same, so both of us have been working from home this week. My company has given a sort of a minimum time frame for folks to be working from home, and that's through the month of the current month, which is March. But I got word that it'll likely be further out. So my wife's company is taking it sort of week by week, and I heard about a teacher whose district has told them, not in this area, in a different state, that they are shutting down schools till May. So they're going to be, without having to be at school but still getting paid, which is awesome, because I believe teachers deserve everything they get and more for only if you're a good teacher. If you're a lousy teacher, you don't deserve it. Only if you're a good teacher. Be a good teacher. If you're thinking about the teaching profession, be good. Be a good one. What else? Wow. It's all over. I really, and you guys can tell, I don't pay attention to the news. I don't. But the picture that I've painted is, it's impacting a lot. So, I mean, if schools end up shutting down in our area, then that means the kids won't be in school and they'll be at home, and it'll be like summer, and we'll be losing our mind working from home with kids who don't know what to do with themselves. So there's a possibility that we would sign them up for online learning just to sort of keep them sharp. I swear, I mean, don't know what to think or what to do, but you know what? We're not hunting for toilet paper, that's for sure. But there's a whole lot of people who are. We're not hunting for alcohol and hand sanitizer, but there's a lot of people who are. Yeah, I'm actually at the store now. I'm at the store again. I got to pick up some puff pastry. My wife's doing more baking, and a few other things. So, yeah. Don't have a whole lot to report on coronavirus time, but just there's a bunch of people who are losing their mind over it, and I'm sure they have good reason to lose their mind over it, but peace of mind sure goes a long way if you can stand to get it, because it's very, very valuable. Peace of mind, people. Yeah. Okay. I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. So I got nothing else to say about the coronavirus. I just walked out of the store, bought a few things. I did buy a Jim Beam. Considering I quit drinking in February and January. So the rationale is thinking, I don't want to have to buy a bottle and take it home. because I quit drinking. And then I'm like, but you know what? All of this, having to work from home, it's kind of stressful, The coronavirus is all over the place, and I know what you're thinking, like, stressful. You get to work from home, stop bragging, you jerk. I'm like, no, I need a balance. I need a balance of being in and out, So it does take effort to just keep things sort of, I was talking about peace of mind, right? There's something for me valuable in doing a commute to the office, right? It's a change of scenery. There's a convenience in getting up and not having to worry about commute and stuff like that. But I can find myself just kind of working at a table at home and feeling like I need to be out. I need to step away. I need my body to move, and because when I do work at the office, I'm at a stand-up desk. The routine is typically I'll park the vehicle in what I hope is a safe spot in some neighborhood nearby, and I'll do that 10-12 minute walk to the train station. I'll stand and wait for the train. I'll get in the train and I'll sit down, if there's available seating. Then I'll get to my destination in San Francisco, and I'll walk out of the station and walk over to the office, get to my desk, and I'm standing, right? And that's, then if I'm in a meeting, then I'm sitting. But the meetings are what? Half hour, an hour, hour and a half, depending on the meeting. Get back to my desk, and I'm standing. Then sort of have to reverse the route. I get to walk to the train station, get in the train. At this point, there's likely no seating at the end of the day. I'm standing in the train ride's like, 40 minutes. Then I do the 12-15 minute hike back to the vehicle. Then I'm back. Then I'm sitting in the vehicle and I'm picking up kids, and it takes some energy to be standing on your feet, all day. I mean, so when service professionals or retail professionals, whatever you want to call them, who are on their feet all day, I get it, man. I mean, there are some days where I'm standing in that train at the end of the day and I'm leaning up against the wall of inside the car, and I'm like, oh my God, my feet. So yeah. Anyways, I just came out of the grocery store, and one of the staff, there's only a few staff this late in the evening, and makes an announcement on a speaker. Like, we're closing in 15 minutes. Kind of announcement. Thank you for shopping, right? And there wasn't a whole lot of us in the store, and I'm in the vicinity. I'm in one of the checkout aisles, and he's a few aisles away, and I'm like, hey, thank you, for. I figured, he's made that announcement many evenings before closing, but he's not ever gotten acknowledgement, So I figured I'd take that moment to just holler out, no, thank you. And then it stopped him on his tracks, and he looked over. Then he went back into one of the empty checkout aisles to get to a microphone, and he says, "You're welcome." It was funny, and the people behind me were cracking up. I figured he doesn't ordinarily get that acknowledgement, so why not get it? But surprised me by getting a response back. So good times. I love it. I love the local neighborhood supermarket. Staff's always friendly, which if you have a neighborhood market where the staff is not friendly, shop somewhere else. You know, why waste? Why would you work in a place and like that and be miserable? You know what places like that? It's kind of like every now and then it's that Walmart super neighborhood market. They're just like miserable. So tough. So stressful. It's stressful. Back to stress. And I caved in and picked up a bottle. And so hopefully that'll get me through the really, really hard times. Not to mention, it is whiskey. If I need hand sanitizer, I should just wash my hands with whiskey. That's a thing, right? I'm rushing back home. And got more kitchen duty to do. Oh, man. Actually, I gotta cut fruit. I gotta cut some fruit for something. I had to hurry up and eat a dinner. I had some steak for dinner and some hot chili peppers. I was like, what kind of dinner is that? I don't know. I just need to eat something. And then I was like, my wife's like, can you go to the store? I'm like, okay, I guess I'm not going to bother chewing. I'm just going to swallow this meat. That didn't come out right. Tomorrow's another day, and we just may get word from the district that starting next week, this is my prediction, starting next week, schools will be closed, so I'm gonna have to be prepared for that. Oh my god. Oh my god. Hello. It is a, what do you say? Day. It's a Friday as of this recording, this segment of the recording. And I would have wrapped up a whole week of working from home. I have the opportunity to work from home. Currently, coronavirus has impacted everywhere. This state of California wants everybody to stay home. Stay. What is it? Shelter in place order. Statewide order as of, I guess, sometime yesterday, which would have been Thursday. But doesn't make a difference because our county had done that days before, so practically all week. And it's been interesting because today's Friday and it doesn't feel like a Friday. The Fridays feel like, oh, I had a long work day, I can't wait to get home. I had a long day. I'm going to leave the office and get together with the family, pick up the family, whatever. Maybe grab dinner out. 'Cause I'm too lazy to cook inside, at home. But because of this order, there's a lot of businesses that have to thin down their services, which sucks. A lot of businesses that are told to close. Why? Because they're all steps to sort of minimize the chance that somebody's going to catch this coronavirus. Pretty tough. I have a neighbor who's in law enforcement, and the way they're operating is they're basically splitting the team or the department, whatever you want to call it, in half, right? One half is going to operate for 2 weeks while the others stay home. And then they switch. 2-week shifts. And if for whatever reason they need to activate the one that's off, they always have that option. So, it's rough. Doing like a 2-day shift is a cakewalk versus doing a 2-week shift. Tough. No child care providers, at-home care providers who can't work because families of the child, or the family of the child, they're abiding by, shelter-in-place orders, and they're also wanting to minimize exposure to their family. So, because, I got a call, some of the pieces of the recording got cut off, but I was talking about how tough it was, restaurants, childcare providers. I have a niece who works in a hospital, and her and our team, they're basically, what they're saying is, we're staying here so you don't have to be here, or something else. We're staying here so you can stay home, so please stay home, something along those lines. Rough, Ugh. I'm at the store again. I gotta pick up some stuff before I go. Yeah, it's been a really interesting week. It's a whole different reality. There was a point in time where it was a struggle to be able to work from home and having to deal with the sort of mental torment that people aren't going to understand why I have to work from home at times because my kids and childcare and all these things. And now it's sort of forced upon everybody to understand, that now you yourself have to work with everybody else who's working from home, and you yourself have to understand that if you're not able to reach the person you need to reach, it's because they are in this new reality like everybody else, where they have to manage their family alongside of everything else, which shouldn't be anything to ignore. It shouldn't be anything that makes you look down on anybody for as far as their performance, because that has nothing to do with it. We all just need to learn to have patience and understanding around things, and not be so sort of sitting on the edge of our seat for things, I had an idiot manager from my previous company who he would look at the little status, online, offline status indicator on my chat app that the team used. And if it looked like my indicator went offline or turned red, therefore I was goofing off, that I wasn't working. You dumbass. What am I going to do? Stare at the chat app and keep typing on it so that it doesn't change status? What if I need to look away from the computer so I can try and figure something out on a notebook, a notepad or something, or shuffle through documents? You dumbass. Yeah. People like that, they should be shit on. But yeah, so I'm kind of fortunate that even, CEO of the company, he has as many kids as I have, and my boss has just about as many kids as I have, and to see them communicate in an email, or to hear them communicate in a video sort of meeting, that, hey, this is a really different time, and if you're not able to reach somebody as quick as you had hoped, you got to understand that doesn't mean that they're not going to perform. It's just they may be a parent of, like, say, 4 in a small single room studio apartment. You never know. And they're having to juggle the reality of working from home and managing their responsibilities as much as keeping their family in order, because those kids aren't in school right now because they're having to stay home as well for health reasons. So it's tough. Like, I had a meeting today. I had planned to meet with a coworker like at 3:30, right? And I hopped on like 8 minutes late. And he had been pinging me on the chat app, and we didn't meet earlier because he needed time to sort of step away from work and check in with the family, make sure that they're okay. I'm like, I totally understand. Then I was late syncing back up with him because I was running late trying to wrap up a science project with the kids, that, an activity that we had sort of planned on getting them through, but it took a little bit longer. So in our house, and a lot of houses that I'm seeing that are being shared, images are shared online, a lot of these parents are doing what parents do. They're spending time to teach their kids. And in our house, my wife has basically wanted to keep some sort of schedule to keep the kids engaged and learning. So, throughout the day, there's different subjects that the kids get to do, but, we're hands-on with it. We're having to become the teachers, and it gives us a whole different appreciation of teachers. We've always appreciated them, but, this is our chance to sort of step in and be like, let's go support our kids as best as we can. In no way like these teachers are able to, but we'll try our best. And it takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of time on top of having to, trying to find spots in between to fit in a meeting for work, a call for work, taking on a task at work, and all of these, making sure that the kids' activities are going. I mean, the lazy part of me says just tell the kids, just be quiet and then just let the day go. But then they would have gotten nothing out of it. So we're having to build in subjects like the other day we had we substituted a PE time slot with let's go wash the van, and they had never done it before, but I remember doing it many times as a kid because there weren't car washes there are as many car washes as there are today. If you got someone else to wash your car rather, it's because there was a fundraiser at a high school or something, and a bunch of kids are like, "Hey, you want to wash your car? It's a donation." But really, you pay because you got your car washed. So, and today we had we had kind of like a volleyball sort of session going on. It was really fun. We have this kit where you have a net that you can bring down low for badminton, and then you can raise it up for volleyball. And the kit comes with 2 balls. One is like a jumbo volleyball, so it's kind of like a beach ball, and it was cool. We basically left the net low for badminton, but we used the big old volleyball because my youngest son isn't tall enough, and so we just had this sort of wacky volleyball session. We did that for PE, and sometimes we're doing an online workout, and yoga, or I'll lead a whole circuit of exercises with the kids. I'm more like I can continue to just do the same drills over and over again, drill mentality. My wife's more like, we want to switch it up and keep it interesting because we don't want them to be sick and tired of PE. I was telling her, it doesn't matter. I mean, if they're going to get sick and tired of PE, it's not because of anything we did, because we could drill them, right? And if anything, that prepares them to be able to take on any activity at PE. Like if we drill them doing push-ups today, by the time they're in actual PE class, then they can knock out their push-ups and not feel like a weakling. Then they're better off. But they could choose to still hate PE and still be able to do perfect push-ups, right? But, I get it. Keep it interesting, right? might die tomorrow, and we would have had a shitty PE session. Why not just have a good time? Yeah. So, it's been a full week of what we're calling the homeschool academy sort of situation, and the kids kind of dig it. They kind of dig it, and I swear, just sometimes it feels like I'm not putting in enough work on a particular slot of the day, and it puts me in a situation where I'm going to spend time, spend times in the evening and spend times on the weekend to at least make me feel like I've filled in any sort of gaps, because I'm still operating on that old mentality of I need to be able to execute a certain number of tasks and feel like I did my day's work. But it's just different now. It's different now because now things are gone crazy. So recording got cut off again, got another call. So I didn't start it back up, just went and did my business. Yeah. And the shelves are thin. The head count in the store is not as heavy as it normally would have been. And still there aren't a lot of paper products and hand Carlos Santanas available. That's what they are. And so I just figured I'd buy a bottle of insecticide and just use that as a way to kill bacteria. No, we got ants at the house. I was doing my own level of sort of biology and science project with the kids today, killing ants. I'm like, oh look, there's the slab of concrete that is the the garage concrete floor, and it kind of comes out to the front of the garage, and what sits on top of it is the garage door as it closes shut. That's cool. So there's a little lip of that concrete slab that's outside of the garage door when it's closed, and the lip of that slab of concrete ends up meeting the driveway, right? But where they meet, there's this material. I don't know. It's some sort of like a not cushion, and Lonnie knows what the heck it's probably called. It isn't a gasket because there's no like water sealing or whatsoever, but it's kind of like a spacer. And to me, it looks like it's some sort of like fibrous spacer. Maybe it's not fibrous. It would have been some I don't know what the heck it is. Really, I really don't know what the heck it is. But it's filthy dirty because all of the outdoor erosion and dirt and wind and things. But in the cracks of that thing and the concrete, there's enough space for ants to come and go. And earlier in the day, my daughter rather comes out into the garage, and she's like, "There's ants in the garage." What happened was, there were some snack food crumbs that fell onto the ground, and ants made their way to that little bit of snack food. So what I do is I just take a broom and I have the garage door open and I sweep all that stuff out, and the ants included, right? And so I was kind of tracking where the source of the ants were, and it was this little spacer between the garage and the driveway floor. Well, there's no driveway ceiling or wall. It's driveway, which already implies it's on the ground. Anyways, so I'm like, okay, there's a little crack in that little spacer, and it looks like ants are coming out of that little hole. Let me take this ant spray and spray into that hole, and ants started coming out crazy. Coming out like crazy. So then I'm like, okay, it's a 2-car garage, so I'm going to spray the heck out of this spacer, the whole length of it, the whole width of the driveway. You see some ants starting to come out crazy. Some of them carrying eggs and stuff, like, help, save my baby. And my daughter's like, oh, that's so cute. I like the eggs. I want them to hatch. I'm like, why? So they can become ants and bite you in the butt? She's like, oh, no, silly. So, it wasn't a new can of ant spray, but whatever was in there, I used it all up. Just killing ants. Having the kids watch. And there were some other spots where I knew that ants had been in the past by the front door, the bottom corner of the front door, the corners. So I sprayed in those little spots and waited. And eventually ants had... At some point, I didn't notice, ants came out and died. There's all of these little dark spots of dead all around these holes. So I'm like, of course ants live under the house and all around. This is where they live. This is their home. So yeah. So went to the store, picked up a new can because I'm just kind of crazy like that. Picked up some other things as well. One of the fun sort of science experiments we're going to do is it isn't a new experiment. Today we took like these chalky type stones and we put them in some weird sort of substance and liquid into a little kind of 1-quart aquarium, and they're all they're sitting in this mixture, these little chalky stones, color stones, and now they're sort of like spiraling upwards like stalagmites or the upwards sort of formations. That's kind of cool. But what we're gonna do is I bought like 3 bottles of the 2-liter Coca-Colas or the Diet Coca-Colas, and we have a couple packets of Mentos at the house. Because we failed at the experiment today. We had these little tiny cute bottles of soda water. Stuck the Mentos in them, and it wasn't impressive. It was more impressive to shake the bottle than open it than it was to drop a couple of Mentos in a small bottle of soda water. So I'm like, I'm not gonna fool around. I want to get a 2-liter bottle of the Coke, the Diet Coke, because I don't want a sticky mess. And we'll have the kids make their own little Mentos Diet Coke geysers tomorrow. Yeah, I'm back. It is Saturday. Because we've spent all last week, the work day or the weekdays, each day of the week, facilitating the learning, subjects and activities and things with the kids. Here we are on a Saturday, and we're still all at a state of social distancing and shelter in place order, blah, blah, blah. So I'm actually heading out to the store because apparently stores are, like grocery stores are allowed to operate. And, so that's good because we need groceries. I'm the first of the family to go out today. We've all just been inside the house. And we've gotten so accustomed to leading the kids into some sort of activity or activity with some sort of subject matter. We kind of did a little bit of it today, and which is fine because we wanted to, on a Saturday, wanted to not have the kids be stuck on video games all dang day. So instead of playing video games, my wife gave the kids the opportunity to make stuff with cardboard and what other material we have based on video games. Does that make sense? It's like, if they want, for example, if I had to make Pac-Man, I would get a bunch of cardboard and I would make my own maze, and I would cut up my own set of ghosts and my own Pac-Man, and I would, color assemble the maze and color things appropriately and figure out how the pellets are going to be, displayed, and, how am I able to get the pieces moved around and such, or the players and the ghosts. So that's what the kids are doing, whatever video game they're into, whether it's Roblox or Minecraft or I don't know, who knows, Mario Brothers, that's what they're doing. So they're just, all of that Amazon packaging you get delivered to your house, right? Because we're very environmentally conscious, that we are okay that we're getting more boxes delivered to our house in a month that we ordinarily would not receive in a whole year. So that's what the kids have been doing for hours, just working on crafting stuff, which is great. What I've been doing, I got up, I got me some coffee, took a shit, then washed my hands, got more coffee, cooked some bacon, put out some recyclables in the recycle bin, and then I did a little bit of cookie decorating. I worked with fondant, did some cool things with fondant over sugar cookies. And then what did I do? Then I started working on what's called Vietnamese spring rolls, and we're making them more as a meal than, if you go, around here we go to a Vietnamese restaurant, and the spring rolls or the egg rolls, they're like little bite-sized pieces, and that's not what we're making. We're making like entree sized size pieces. We used to eat them a certain way. We're used to eating them a certain way back in Guam. The restaurants there, they served them up where literally the egg roll, the fried egg roll was, I don't know, it was big. It was like bigger than a hot dog, right? It was big. And what you did was you sat that puppy up. No, it's not a puppy, but you sat that fried egg roll on top of a leaf of romaine lettuce. Nice, right? And the romaine lettuce was basically the handle or the bed of the egg roll, of this thing that we're about to eat. You can just take the egg roll and eat it just like that, but instead you're going to put it in this lettuce leaf. You're going to put a few more things, maybe a few bean sprouts and some nicely julienne pickled carrots and radish, maybe some mint leaves or cilantro leaves, and you'd basically make like a taco, right? With the lettuce leaf as the taco shell, and the egg, with the fried egg roll and all of these other vegetables as sort of the filling. Then you would just sort of curl that leaf all around all that goodness, and dip the one end into a fish type sauce, and there you go. So anyways, that's what I'm working on. I just finished the filling of the egg roll, and the wrappers are the sheets of wrappers are pretty much done thawing, so I could separate each of the little fine sheets of paper wrapper, separate them out, and begin the whole process of rolling these guys into rolls. Yeah. So that's most of the day, and man, I'm holy crap. Hey, I'm walking over to this Trader Joe's, and they're really taking the social distancing thing pretty strong. I'm gonna have to stand in line, and it looks like they're sort of throttling the amount of people are allowed in the store at a time. So I'm gonna go participate in that line. Holy smokes. Oh well. So it kind of looks like X number of people hit the exit. They allow X number of people back in. I see. Well, we'll see how this goes. Awesome. All right, I'm back. So our local Trader Joe's has, they're keeping a certain maximum amount of customers in the store at a time during the shopping hours. So that means there's a line outside. Folks have to wait. Staffers inside waving people in when it's time to allow a certain number of people in. They make sanitary wipes available. Is that even what they're called? Wet wipes outside the store. Some customers stand outside wearing their masks, and even they get their gloves ready right before they enter the store. And the way the line is set up is they put these black and yellow striped pieces of tape on the concrete on the ground to sort of guide folks how far apart they should, at minimum, stand up away from each other. Yeah, stand apart from each other. It's kind of weird, the parking lot's not full. People are out there just doing their grocery shopping, and it's just weird, I go in, and the first thing I hit up is the produce, and I don't have gloves, so I take a plastic bag that you ordinarily would get from the produce section, and use that to sort of create a little shield for my hand as I touch stuff. It's weird, and like I gotta touch the avocados. Like I don't want to get something that's overripe or already ripe, because it'll just, if I'm not ready to eat it, it's just gonna get rotten real quick if I take it home. Yeah, it's just weird, like I carry a basket, shopping basket, and what kind of cooties are on the basket, right? And I'm carrying the thing on the crook of my elbow, or whatever you call it, and I'm like, oh my god, my elbow is gonna get the flu. It's just weird, and get my shopping done, and I head over to a different store, which is in the same general area, just to see if I can catch something that I wasn't able to, buy something that was unavailable at the first store. Only for me to buy stuff that I wasn't planning on buying. It's weird because I hadn't been out at all today, so I wanted to take my time in the store and sort of just explore, what's left of the store. I found where they keep beef soup bones. It wasn't kept with all the other meats by the butcher counter. I just generally thought you don't have that stuff available out on display. It might be something you'd have to ask the butcher sort of for on the spot. But sure enough, the freezer aisle had a section where they had beef soup bones. I'm like, cool. Grab the one packet. I could stand to make a batch of bone broth. I haven't done that in a while. So I have the beef bones, and I have a whole bag of frozen roast chicken bones. So that's waiting to be used along with the beef soup bone to make some yummy broth. Yeah, it's just weird. It's weird. You know, it's just a weird time. You know, I have friends who are really freaking out. You know, and they go about wanting to watch movies like Contagion and other sort of similar, you know, contagious viral flu type based movies. I mean, why? You're already living it. Why do you want to watch about it? You drive yourself crazy. Why don't you watch something that'll sort of allow you to escape? I mean, are you hoping to watch and learn some new tricks, or maybe learn a way to I don't know. I guess you can stand to be smarter, more aware for stuff like this, right? And rather than just play dumb and not be mindful of what's really going on. And I have a general idea, right? I do catch some bits of news, and with social media you can't avoid catching stuff. So I catch stuff, you know. Every now and then I'm curious. I'll turn on the news radio. That sounds very dated, but you can catch news radio on an app on your smartphone or your Alexa device. That's how I do it. And you know, just to see what the highlights are. Still doesn't change things where I am, sort of in my little circle in the community. It's already been impacted. People generally know what to do and what not to do. But yeah, what did I pick up at the store? I picked up a big old jug of conventional cooking oil. You know, the highly inflammatory type of oil that just would make your fat tissues sick, and you know, set you up for you know, fat around the organs. That type of oil, because what the heck, you know, maybe it's the cure. No, just kidding. I had to pick up some conventional cooking oil because we're going to be doing a level of deep frying that I do not want to waste my good bacon fat or my good olive oil or my good coconut oil for. There's going to be like a high level of fry that's going to happen, and that's just how it's going to roll. Yeah. I went over to the Trader Joe's and I asked the guy, "Do you have any like cooking oil?" He says, "Yeah, I've got the avocado oil and I've got the coconut oil over here, and you know, I'm like, yeah, I totally get it. But I'm looking to do some cooking a specific way that's going to call for, you know, the highly inflammatory industrial seed oils, you know, the subsidized sort of oils, that kind of stuff. Corn, vegetable, soy, you know, the stuff that, you know, in the long haul makes you sick. That's what I want." He goes, "Yeah, you're right, because none of this stuff, the coconut oil, the avocado oil, it's not gonna do any good for you but add flavor." I'm like, yeah, who wants that? What good is flavor if you're too busy, if you're too desensitized to even detect flavor because, you know, of all the inflammation? God, who wants flavor and low inflammation? All right, guys, that's all I got for now. So I'll catch you on the next episode. Thanks for stopping by. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for staying around. And yeah, remember to hug your friends. Well, maybe keep a safe distance, just sort of like air high fives and air elbows. And hug your family, and eat something delicious, and go run something. Bye.
Thanks for listening to Ruel's Running Podcast with Ruel. If you like what you just heard, share it with your friends and your enemies. Also, be sure to check out the site over at ruelsrunning.com. This has been another Coffee with Heavy Cream production. Join us next time for another silly show of Ruel's Running Podcast.